Dads, don't you want your kids to know? Moms, don't you want your kids to know that God cares about every detail of our life? Making memories with your children, I think that's what, at least at my age, that's what I cherish, is those memories.
Jay and Laura, welcome back to Focus.
Great to be here.
Good to be here.
Yeah, it's
Always
so fun. Now, let me give Dad some relief, because one of the things I experienced with Trent and Troy, when they were like less than 2, I didn't know what to do with them. I wasn't great at changing the diapers. I wasn't big on feeding them with the spoon and then them spit it all up. Of course I did it. Gene was far better at that. But I remember thinking to myself, like most of us dads, when does this change? When can they throw a ball? When can they run with me outside? When can we do some kind of action? So to speak to that issue of dad engagement, and we kind of start slow, I think.
I think for me, I was afraid I was going to break them. I'm seriously, here's this little person, and she was great with them. And I think part of it is the whole concept of it's something new. It's a new person, and how do we how do we relate to them? And I think for most men, it's fear. There's a fear.
That's interesting. Yeah,
and that fear translates into flight. It's fight or flight. It turns into flight for a lot of guys, and when really children want their dads to be involved in their life.
Oh, yeah.
Children want that, even from the earliest age. And that's why I think this book is so important, is because it gives dads opportunity to do things, because as men, we like to participate in activities together and not just sit and talk. And this is what this is all about for the dads.
Okay, thank you, Jay. Let's go to the expert. Laura, you're the observer mom. Why do you think dads struggle to engage?
I think it's the way God's created us. As women, we're more nurturing. As men, I don't know what you guys are.
We're going to keep you off balance as long as
you're
possible.
something, but you are something. But we're more nurturing. So it's just that we're more relational in that. So we automatically, and there's something inside a woman that just, I need to take care of this person. It also applies to our husbands. I need to take care of you. And so I think for men, there's at least for the men I've observed, when a new baby comes into your life, there's a bit of a power struggle. My wife is now taking care of this. She's not taking care of me anymore.
We're the little boy.
Exactly. I want to be taken care of. So I think that starts it. But I think it's also exactly what Jay said. It's, I don't know what to do. I just know from observing him, he was like, I don't know what to do with this child. Just tell me what to do. How do I change the diaper? And for women, sometimes I don't know why we just know how to do that, but we do. And, it just was, I feel like it's just a God-given innate ability that we have. And it's not that God didn't give men that, but men are more companion-oriented. Even when you talk about marriage, men want to do stuff with their wife. They don't want to, like Jay said, we don't want to sit and talk and share our feelings and all that stuff. They want to, let's go ride a bike, let's go play golf, let's go. So it's that. Yeah. It's not that they don't want to be with their kids. They just, when they're little, you can't throw a ball. You can't make them run.
Things became much more exciting when they could do that with me.
Exactly.
I was much more engaged.
And it's a lot easier then. Now I know what to do. Now it's into my territory. Now I know what to do.
Let me move to Laura, you. What would you say to wives who want to see their husbands get more involved? And, it's kind of one of those things. And this is a natural thing for a wife to do. Honey, I think you should. And fill in the blank. How does an effective wife notice that there's maybe not the engagement level that she would like.
Right.
And then how does she spur her man on to become more the father she wants him to be?
Well, I can answer that a couple different ways. First of all, you're right. We try and tell you should do this, you should do that, what we need to do. And I hope that women who maybe buy this book for their husbands will realize, let him be who he is. I would never tell Jay to take our son to a monster truck rally, because he wouldn't do that anyway. He would take our son golfing. But, let them be who they are and let that come out naturally. If you were to get this book for your husband, first of all, 75 amazing activities, a man's going to go, 75, where do I start? Well, you could go ahead as a wife and just put in some little Post-it notes or whatever, maybe 5 or 6. But
This one sounds like you, honey.
But then just give it. Don't say anything. Here, I've already tagged some for you if you want to. The other thing is we need to realize as women that our husbands are not mind readers and they don't get subtle hint and innuendo. So it's the classic, if you take a trash can out and stick it in the middle of the floor and say, the trash is full.
Yes, it is.
Exactly.
You're observant.
So instead of, could you take out the trash? And so it's the same thing when it comes to your kids. Could you help me give the kids a bath tonight?
Well, in that context, that is helpful, and husbands should receive it that way. It's good help to know what the runway lights,
right?
Where they're going, what are you expecting of me? I would appreciate that as much as possible.
But then as a wife, we also have to watch our tone of voice, that we don't become... You should know how to do this.
Thank you. I was going to ask you to demonstrate that tone.
Be nagging of, why can't you do this? Whatever. So I'm going to get myself in trouble.
Yeah. Hey, before I throw one Jay's way here, let's end with another one for you, Laura. In this book, again, this doesn't exclude moms from participation. And just speak to that relevance that we want moms involved if they can be, and dad has a plan for that, and it works out.
Absolutely.
So this isn't about just compartmentalizing fun with dad.
Right. It's not. The intent was to just give men ideas for things that they can do with their kids. Mom can participate. It could be a family activity. I know for us, we've done several of them together. But also, it seems like when we as women go with, again, let him be the leader in doing the activity. Don't try and take over and say, oh, we should have done this way. We should have gone to this ice cream place instead of that ice cream place, or whatever it might be. Or as a mom, a grandma, you can use the book too for the activities. It doesn't necessarily just have to be for dads, but
no, that's good.
Because we run into a lot of grandparents who are parenting their grandkids.
Yeah.
And again, for grandparents who are looking for something to do, another great resource.
The good thing is you'll forget you did it. And you can do it again. Hey, let's get into a couple of these just as examples, so that folks listening and the YouTube watchers they can get an idea. One, John, that you picked out as you went through the book was funny because this is for an older child, obviously.
Right. Well, yeah, you can start young. I mean, it's detailing your car. It's sort of like wash and detail the car.
I wouldn't want my 2-year-old detailing my car. I'm just saying.
This is on page 76. You might have to go back and redo it, but I love the idea because it's an activity, but it also benefits me. It does cause a little extra work, however, in training, right?
I think that's you can let the 6-year-old hold the Windex and the paper towel.
Kidding.
So describe what that one is all about.
Well, that one is about the fact that as you do this work together, as you're cleaning this car, you're clearly spending time with your child. You're teaching your child healthy work ethic and healthy habits to keep your car clean. I mean, there's just a million things that are behind the scenes, but it's also that God cares about every detail of our life. Mm. And these are the simple things we've done in this book, is to just say, this isn't rocket science. We're not talking about deep theology, but dads, don't you want your kids to know? Mm. Moms, don't you want your kids to know that God cares about every detail of our life?
Yeah. You know what pops to my mind is that great proverb that says, train up a child in the way he or she should go, and when they are old, they won't depart from it. And these are simple things that you're talking about. How to, there is no thing, cleanliness is next to godliness in the Bible, but order, doing order from chaos is
and
certainly
being a good
scriptural.
Steward of what we've been given.
Yeah. So those concepts I'm getting at, that's the point you're making.
I think so. And I think this is cliche, but more is caught than taught.
Yeah.
You're going to demonstrate, you're going to model this behavior for your children.
What was another one that you enjoyed with your kids as they were growing up?
I was telling Laura, we went on vacation. Our son was 6. Laura was pregnant with our daughter. And my parents were there. A couple other relatives were there. And we had this giant water balloon fight. And my 6-year-old could not believe that we were going to have this water balloon fight. And I mean, he was just giddy. And of course,
you nailed him, right?
He was on my team. We nailed Grandma. Okay.
Oh, gee. Poor Grandma. That's terrible. Don't write or call us. Send your notes to Jay.
Well, what he didn't realize was that we were at a rental house, for the vacation, and we had to pick up all the balloons when we were done,
Yeah.
But it was a great memory. I don't remember the spiritual significance of that one. I really don't. It was just plain fun. And that's another thing. stuff in this book is just fun.
Yeah.
You know, and again, the minor things, making memories with your children. I think that's what, at least at my age, that's what I cherish is those memories.
Well, and you know, now that my boys are 24 and 22, I think they have forgotten it, right? And they'll come back to something when they were a single-digit young man, 6 and 8, let's say. They'll say, Dad, you remember when we did? I'm going, no, I don't.
Right.
But it's stuck with them.
That's right.
They do remember those moments. And I think our brain chemistry kind of fires that way. God created us that way. When something exciting happens or fun like that, it sears into our brain and our memory. Another great tool for parents to make sure these lessons are caught, and that's great. Speaking of that, Laura, I wanted to ask you about the benefits of dads engaging and playing with their kids. You did a little bit of research on the benefits of that. What are they?
You know, I think the benefits when a dad is engaged with a son or a daughter, there's a relationship that's built that is not acknowledged by our culture. When Jay would, one of the things he would do with our daughter was he would take her on dad-daughter dates. You know, sometimes it was a dress-up date. The big thing right now is these daddy-daughter dances, you know, where they all get dressed up. But you're teaching your daughter how she should expect to be treated by a man.
Right.
You know, and that he would take her and they would go, sometimes it was just ice cream, but it was just the two of them. And then obviously he would do stuff with our son as well. And I think for a child, when you're thinking about, when someone starts talking to you about God the Father, God is our Father. If you don't have a father model in your brain, you can't understand that. And so when a man takes a role in the life of his child, they are more able to see when someone says God the Father to go, oh, like my dad. So he's going to be like a dad. And that feels a little more personal, feels a little more. So I think one of the benefits is that you exemplify God the Father when you are a dad getting involved in the life of your child.
You're modeling that.
Yes.
No, that's so true. Or you're damaging that.
Right. Either way, yes.
You know, there's so many stories in that regard. You know, people from within the church, dads from within the church, will get letters from their adult daughters who will say, my dad did not really portray a godly man. For whatever reason, you can fill in the blank, from really horrific things to just anger or things like that. It's a good reminder for all of us as parents to make sure that you're thinking of that long game. You know, when you face the Lord, can you say to the Lord, I did the best job possible to parent and to steward those children you gave me?
Right.
What a great place to start, to keep your day-by-day attitude in check so that you're doing the best you can. Doesn't mean you're going to lose it. You may, and you got to go back in and then apologize.
Right.
But it's probably one of the things that grieves my heart the most when we get communication here at Focus about a seriously damaged person because their parents, who claim to be Christian, did not live up to it. And these children tend to go far away from the Lord because of that. Think of that.
Right.
And we need to make sure we're doing all we can. So in this way, you're doing those things. So try to live a life that is in alignment with the Scripture, knowing that we're not perfect. Tell your kids you're not perfect.
Right.
It's a good thing.
Exactly.
And whether we believe it or not, our kids are watching us like hawks.
More than anybody in our lives, maybe outside of our wives, right?
I don't know.
Laura, some moms can get discouraged because they have to deal with those hard or boring parts of parenting. I mean, moms particularly. I was thinking Jane, she did biochemistry, you know, she could have been a veterinarian, that was her goal, but she chose to let's have children, and that's what I'm going to pour my life into. And she did it very willingly and wanted to, and my boys were the beneficiaries of having a great mom. Speak to that kind of thing where how you as a mom are saying, okay, this is the decision I'm going to make, this is the call I have, this is what I'm going to do.
Yes, I felt, I knew from a very early age I was called, I was going to be a mom. So I knew that wasn't a difficult decision for me. I knew I'd been called to ministry, that we were going to work together in ministry, but I knew working in ministry was a way I could be flexible with our life. I could be flexible with being home with the kids. But I know some moms deal with, well, how come I have to be the bad parent and he gets to be the fun parent?
Yeah.
Did you ever say that to Jay?
No.
No, because ours was opposite. I was the
You were
fun
the fun
parent.
one.
I grew up in a home. My father was a minister who was in the military.
Oh, good.
So I was
Left, right, left,
yes,
right.
exactly. So I was the bad guy in our home.
And when you traveled, you were speaking. He was traveling and speaking before we were doing that together. And so whenever he was gone for the weekend, the kids and I had a party. I mean, that was just, we ate out at McDonald's. We played games.
Pizza.
We didn't do anything.
I'd come home, the house was a mess.
But we
no,
still had
not
those
complaining.
conversations. We still had those conversations of how come I have to be the stern parent and you get to be the fun parent. And I had to realize that, that really is not fair. I need to be on a team with him and we have to come at this as a united front. And that was just when our son would say, can I go spend the night at Daniel's house? I would say, we have to wait and Dad and I talk about it. We have to present that united front.
And I think Laura had some unique challenges that can relate to some of what you're talking about in that I got to go to some amazing places as a speaker.
Yeah.
And she was like,
Never said that on the phone, did you?
No.
Man, you wouldn't believe this resort. It's got a pool.
Yeah.
Right.
But and she was like, why am I the one that has to stay home?
Yeah.
I have to stay home every weekend. You get to go to these incredible places, do incredible things. And so I think every couple struggles with that is the just balancing that whole.
What did you say?
It was a dump, honey. It was just a total dump.
Well, as the kids got older, we went with him.
Yeah, that's
and so
best.
that was
Yeah.
that was the best answer. But I think also as a woman realizing, this is the way God has again created us to be the nurturer. So I'm going to take care of the kids in that way.
Hey, allow me to interrupt for just a moment here to say how much we appreciate you watching. Now, if you find value in this content, subscribe by clicking below. It'll be a big help to us. Let's go ahead and return to the show. And Jay, one of the ideas is to kind of stretch outside of your comfort zone. So what's the importance of that? Why should my kids see me maybe failing? Because I just hear failure when I stretch outside of my comfort zone.
Yes.
Let's try a new activity. It'll be dangerous. It might go south, but let's try it. I'm not wired that way.
Right.
A lot of guys aren't going to go there.
Ego.
Why should we?
No, that's good. We all
Well,
have
there
it.
is a pride
No,
issue.
we all have
I
it.
will tell you that we've got a rock climbing wall at our college. And I am short in stature. I am stocky. I'm thick. Climbing rocks is not something that I was designed to do, but our son wanted to do it, and so I said I'll give it a try. And of course, he just scampered right up the wall. At 8 or 9 years old, had no fear, and I got about halfway up, and then I was done. I just couldn't. But I tried, and I think for another great lesson for your kids is that you gave it a try. You put some effort into it. He knew that was not my comfort zone, but that was something he wanted to do, so I'll give it a try.
Yeah.
Thank goodness he never wanted to do it again.
No, I had a similar experience with Troy, my younger son. We went to something that Focus does from time to time, Adventures in Fatherhood. These are dads and their 12 to 18-year-old children, either a son or a daughter. And I took him a year or two early, but because it was a Focus event, I could sneak him in. But we're up on the Prowl in the Sierra Madres in California. And this thing's like a 200-foot drop, and we're roped in, and he's trying to come over this rock face. He slams into the rock in front of him, and he starts crying. And I'm holding my weight. I'm a big guy like you, right? And I'm going, Troy, man, we got to get down. I know you're afraid. Just work your way down when you can. I've got to go. And then I was gone. But anyway, he lands in the bottom. So my face, seeing him in tears, I felt horrible. And then he lands, and he looks at me and goes, Dad, that was so much fun. We got to do that again. And I was like, oh my, what a man we have become in 200 feet. And that's your point.
Yep.
And the other thing is 3 of the 6 dads in our little pod had to bail out because of height. And that night we're doing a devotion around the campfire. And to hear their 10, 11, 12-year-olds go, Dad, why were you afraid? They have never seen their father afraid. And they had to say something in the middle of this devotional to say, I don't like heights, or however they wanted to express that. But I think the kids were, again, amazed, because I think so often kids look at their fathers as perfect or flawless, or they're big and they're my dad. and they can do anything, right? That's what we think at that age.
I was more out of my comfort zone with our daughter, doing things with
Yeah, I
her.
can see
You know what I'm saying? Because
Totally.
Dad, let's go do sidewalk chalk. Well, first of all, I'm not artistic. Second of all, I don't like stuff on my finger. I mean, it's all this stuff. I'm thinking, I don't want to do that, but that's what she wanted to do. And so, sometimes it's scary. Sometimes it's just inconvenient. But when you step outside of your comfort zone, your kids notice.
How do you encourage, Jay, dads to set that example for kids on practically following God and serving others? These are all little, like you said, life lessons, but they should have an aim.
Again, I think as a dad, it's best done through activity.
Yeah.
And
Shoulder to shoulder.
Exactly.
Yeah.
One of the things that we did, and our kids will remember it to this day, and they talk about it, is we had a woman in our neighborhood who was recently widowed, and it was fall in Michigan, and that means there are leaves everywhere. And our small group said, let's get all of our family, you bring all your kids, we'll bring all our kids, and we'll do Mrs. Philippon's yard in an hour or so. And we did. And we had fun while we were doing it because it was so many people. And Mrs. Philippon was flabbergasted. She couldn't believe someone would do this for her. And, we had an opportunity that evening to talk about it, what it meant to the children. What did you learn today? That we really need to serve other people. And that when you do serve other people, you bless them. And I mean, our kids were maybe 13 and 6 at the time. It's not like they were older, but they really learned that because we went out and we did service together.
Yeah.
And churches offer stuff like this all the time that you
Sure.
can do with your kids.
Yeah.
So take advantage of that.
Laura, you jumped in on that one, right?
Oh, yeah. Raking? Sure. I brought the lemonade. No, we did. It was a fun day, and it's fall in Michigan, so the kids were playing in the leaves, and then they'd have to rake them back up. But I was going to say, it's about the failure. I think it's good to let your kids see you fail, and also letting them know that fear's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
But what I'm afraid of might be different than what you're afraid of. I'm afraid of bridges over water, and my kids used to think that was hilarious. Why? I said, because I'm afraid the car is going to go off the edge of the bridge. It was something that I'd been afraid of since I was young. And the kids are like, okay, I can understand that. I don't necessarily understand it, but I'm going to let you be afraid, Mom. I'm not going to make fun of you. But allowing kids to realize that what you're afraid of isn't maybe necessarily what I'm afraid of.
Yeah.
But we all have fear.
Yeah.
And what we do with it makes a difference.
I think the overarching idea here is to let your kids see you have emotions.
It's a good thing.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
Dads struggle with that.
I know, and I don't understand why, because maybe I'm different, but I wanted my kids to see when I was sad. I wanted them to see when I was angry, but to be angry and not explode. This really is not something I'm happy about, but I'm not going to explode over it. Or to let them see you cry. If and not that it's a big you're going to bawl your eyes out, but have that tear run down your cheek.
Yeah.
They're going to realize you're human and that you express emotions, and it's safe for them to express emotions.
It's a good thing. Right at the end here, you did have an activity or two in the area of teaching your children to be intentional about prayer. So let's connect that right at the end here. That, to me, is probably the most important lesson you could ever share with your child, is how to take your needs and pains to the Lord.
We no longer live in a neighborhood. We live in a around a block kind of neighborhood. But we lived in town, had a block. And one of the things that we encourage dads to do is to take your children around the block. And as you go around the block, say, hey, there's the Smiths. That's the family that right now they just lost their grandfather. Can we pray for them? Just as we're walking.
Oh, interesting.
And okay, here's your best buddy. Why don't we pray for him that he has a good day today? And as you go around the block, at least in our small town, everybody. And so take some intentional time to just pray. And again, men fear this. It doesn't have to be some big elaborate prayer. Just, God, little Jimmy, he's Tori's best friend. Would you give him a good day today? Boom. The Lord hears that. And the kids hear you talking to God like he's approachable.
Right.
And that's huge.
That's so good. Well, what a good place to end. And again, you got 75 amazing activities for dads and kids. Make a gift of any amount. Jump on board with us. Let's save more marriages, save more families, save babies from abortion. When you give to Focus, that's what it goes to, a bunch of good stuff. And why don't you make a gift of any amount, $5, $10, and we'll send you this great resource, Ultimate Dad Night, as our way of saying thank you for being part of the ministry. For grandparents, get it for your adult children. Have that discussion with your son or your son-in-law and say, here's a way to engage your kids, and it can be fun and not fearful.
Yeah, get in touch with us today. Donate as you can. Our details are in the program description, or give a call, 800, the letter A, and the word family. 800-232-6459.
Jan, Laura, it's so good to have you. Thanks for coming.
Hey, it's our pleasure.
Our pleasure.
Yeah. And if you want to come visit the campus, we got a great welcome center with lots of activities. We got a soda shop, a little snack shop, along with a great bookstore. Make it a plan to come and visit us this summer, along with probably another 100,000 people that love to do that. So be part of it. Come see the campus. We'd love to host you.
Yeah, and all the details for a campus visit are going to be online. We'll link over to that in the program description as well. On behalf of the entire team, thanks for joining us today for Focus on the Family with Jim Daly. I'm John Fuller, inviting you back as we once again help you and your family thrive in Christ.